Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Austin coming at you with another StarCraft 2 commentary. This particular match is taking place on Secret Spring. It is from the IEM Season 9 Global Challenge Taipei. And this particular game was from the Grand Finals. It was map number 2. This is between Life, who is on Team Startail. They have been sponsored by Spenu since. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. It's SBENU. It's a Korean company. Spenu, I don't know. You guys would know better than I would. So at the time of this match being played, however, they were still referred to as Startail. So he is our Red Zerg player spawning at the bottom left, and near to the top right, we could argue at the 1 or 2 o'clock position, is Maru, who is playing on Team Jin Air Green Wings, one of the original Kespa teams, formerly known as Team 8, and he is the Blue Terran. So this particular map was quite highly voted on Team Liquid. It was one of the recommended games. Well, in the recommended games section, it was well received. It was given some pretty good ratings. This is what I base my casts off of. I look up the threads of the live reports of the tournaments and just consult which games were voted the best, because I figure I want to bring you guys only the top tier matches for me to cast. I used to do full series way back some years ago, and I found it got a little bit redundant. Some of the games were just very standard. One player made a noteworthy mistake, and that was about it. So ever since then, I've decided, okay, it will just be a single game. Sometimes a certain series has a few great games, and this series is one of them. So you may expect to see another map between these two from the finals, probably 3 or 4 or 5. Those 3 were all well voted. This one was the best voted, however. And so this is an exciting matchup for me to cast for my second returning commentary, because it is the TvZ, and as much as I am a Protoss player by trade, I do really enjoy this matchup, and I find if I were to think of a single matchup that were to be indicative of StarCraft 2 in terms of just what has produced the best games overall. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and correct me if you have a different opinion, but I would say TvZ. Just some of the legendary players from way back, MVP, Stefano, these 2 players here, Life and Maru, of their own accord, have been phenomenal. I find just as much as Protoss has had its own contributions, the best overall matchup just in the history of StarCraft 2, if we're to look at the macroscopic, would be TvZ. And these 2 players are quite young. Both of them are very similar in age to me. Maru, I know, was 14 when he first played his first televised match, and Life is, I think he's 17, 18 now. Maru's only a few months younger, but he did go on record as the youngest player ever to win a televised match in the GSL. So quite phenomenal indeed, and very similar to me in terms of how old they are, yet here they are playing international StarCraft 2 matches. I can only wonder how insane that would be. And I find, just in terms of general gamer culture, it is not necessarily seen as unacceptable just yet for somebody to be pro gaming at an adult age, or your 20s for a few years. You see a lot of the NA players game from the early 20s. Usually they end up retiring by the 27, 28. But in Korea, I find it's more acceptable for the younger age players to actually play the esport. But we do have a proxy bunker here that is of some note, with the Reaper going inside, which is promptly repaired by the SCV. And here is a second Reaper coming in from Maru, so his micro will really decide a lot of this, as that is some smart little aggression just to keep Life on edge, who did go for that quick expand, as is usually expected of the Zerg. So the 3 Reapers now in total are just kiting these Zerglings to no end, and there is another 2. There are another 2 in production. Is another 2? I don't quite know. I'm a science student, so as much as I have tried to keep my English intact, primarily I'm studying natural sciences, so unfortunately some basic is/are conflicts cannot be so easily resolved by me. But enough of my rambling. We have these 3 Reapers still attacking one of the queens and just generally wreaking havoc. Maru will probably get the salvage in time, and he will just literally seconds away from the spine crawler killing it, and he gets the salvage. Now there are a total of 5 Reapers. They do have that healing ability that I have forgotten. Don't forget, I'm still a little bit rusty on my abilities. It's Combat Drugs, fairly straightforward ability name. We have the metabolic boost coming out from Life in short time. He's about a third of the way done that upgrade. I think as soon as he gets it, he will be able to finally deal with this Reaper aggression. But the Combat Drugs does significantly enhance their survivability, and they can do a lot more damage. Let's look at our units lost tab real quick. So only 1 worker killed, but 10 units killed out of Maru. So the resources lost tab is a little bit more in favor of Maru, Life having lost a little bit more, but it's not game ending. There are these transfuses coming out of the Queen, so they are promptly dealing with these Reapers, not quite killing any of them, as Maru is microing them excellently out of the base right before they reach a point of critical damage. But I think Life has dealt with it fairly well. We have two CCs coming out of Maru. One of them is at the natural, and one of them is probably just going to be a macro CC. But I never know, and equally so, as I've said, it has been some months since I've casted regularly, so this could very well be a third. I could not quite speak for that. We will have to see. If Maru decides to go into a third, that will be incredibly risky. He really does not have very much military to back this up. But I find sometimes those kind of risks are the best to take because your opponent immediately assumes, okay, he went for the Reaper aggression. He has to be following up with something similarly aggressive in terms of his unit composition and his timings. And yet, if you go completely on the contrary to that, get 3 command centers, even if one of them is a macro CC, then you will be leaving your opponent completely confused. Even if it is a player like Life, they usually are practicing so often that they're expecting a certain strategy after a time. I mean, somebody like Life is known for his ability to adapt to the situation, and I fully expect him to be able to in this game. But I'm just talking in terms of the general first prediction he's making. I'm not saying what will he do for the whole of the game. I'm saying what is going through his mind right now, or what was going through his mind about 3 minutes ago. He was probably thinking more aggression and preparing for it accordingly. He is getting a third, but that is standard all the same. Even if there was aggression, unless he felt it was an all-in, he would probably still get that third. The metabolic boost is keeping the Reapers at bay. One of them did die, but for the most part, we still have that legion of 5 of them. I think a 6th one was there, and it peaked out at 6, and then one of them died, because I do remember there being a force of 5 before. Here are those speedlings coming around this north side of the map, just trying to attack these destructible rocks over here. So that third just seems to be a macro CC for the moment. It is producing SCVs to saturate that natural. My old expression is coming into play here, naturate. That's what I called it when a player was trying to get maximal SCV or harvester coverage in general at their natural expansion. It was called getting naturated. So another reason to tune in into the future, because I come up with expressions like that, even though somebody else may have come up with it. And here we have the orbital command flying over to the gold expand. This will probably be scouted by the Overlord of Life, but it is incredibly risky out of Maru. If he can hold it down, this could very well shift the game into his favor. He has 2 engineering bays coming out. He has a starport, he has a stream of marines, and he has his stim packs. So I think Maru will have to... I think the result of the game will be decided by the state of that gold expand. It will be seen by the Overlord for certain. I do not remember how to oh, I can just do, yeah, there we go. It's just the number. I was forgetting how to do by vision of each player, so he will see that. For certain, he will see that. And that will influence his general tactics here, as he's going to have to respond to that promptly. And he mostly has speedlings coming out, probably to just swarm it down and deal with it. But there is a significant marine force here out of Maru. I think they have their combat shields. I couldn't quite tell you. I remember seeing it being upgraded. It doesn't look like they do yet. But he does have armor level 1, weapons level 1, medevac. So it looks like he's going to go for marine medevac, and we'll have to see what other units he goes for. I remember the famous TvZ composition, marine tank medevac. I do not quite remember what he might go for in this game, or what a Terran in general would go for against Zerg, just going for some ground units. I think Maru will just reactively choose his second set of units to compose his army once he sees what Life goes for. And Life is going for a Baneling Nest and Lair Tech as well, along with a horde of speedlings. He's just consistently upping his speedling count. And here is a ping, probably from one of the observers of this game. I did not know that was an effect that could still be applied. It could perhaps be just because I was selecting it. I'm not sure. The ground carapace has been completed thanks to my handy little interface, and the units will be dropped onto the soil here to face down the speedlings, which they will do because these... Oh, no, they don't quite have 1-1, but they do generally deal well with speedlings if microed well, and of course Maru is going to micro them well. There is the centrifugal hooks and 22 banelings being morphed by Life. This is going to make for a very interesting engage, heavily decided by the micro of each player. I don't doubt that Maru could handle this well, but bad splits could mean chaos, but it will be actually something of a bust out of Life. A few of the initial banelings are destroyed by the marines, but the rest are entering the base. They don't have the centrifugal hooks yet, but they are going for the mineral line of Maru. So what will happen here? It could be chaos if they are not split off well. Even if they are split off well, it could still be chaos because they are clumped. There's a nice pack of them being destroyed. There still are a handful of banelings left. These speedlings are bringing Maru to his knees. He will have to deal with this, and fast at that. He has the medevacs boosting over to try to save what is left of the main. There's one of the... I think it was a reactor, I couldn't quite see. Probably a tech lab, actually. It was destroyed. The speedlings still dealing total destruction dishing out total destruction upon their enemy. There's that one little annoying speedling that is just triggering the map alerts of Maru and trying to distract him away from what really matters. He drops the scan on the main. He sees that macro hatch. He probably sees the 2 Evo chambers, which he does indeed. And he does have his base under attack. So that gold expand is being held down. This bunker has 4 Marines in it, and it will be promptly repaired by 3 SCVs. So let's look at our tab here. 26 workers killed out of life. The resources loss still favors Maru, but you must remember Zerg is a race that can deal with losses like that. Terran, however, is a race that does not deal very well at all with losses to its economy of that magnitude. It can use mules in order to be able to bring itself back up to speed, as we see Maru killing some speedlings here, but that does not justify the loss of that many SCVs. Drones are crippling to a Zerg, and probes are especially crippling to a Protoss, because there's no real substitute, there's no mule, nothing of the like. But for a Terran, losing that many SCVs in total is nothing good. These Marines now have combat shields that will help them with the Banelings. There is a Spire being built out of life, and so we will see some mutiling Baneling from our red Zerg player, and we'll have to see what Maru opts for to counter it. He's getting 2 Widow Mines right now, and that is a very smart strategy. If positioned well in his main, they could completely obliterate some Banewing packs and just dish out punishment. They are going to have to be positioned well, though, for Maru, and very quickly at that, because now there are Zerglings and Banelings at his door, or Speedlings, shall I say. There they are, being burrowed, and this will be a beauty to watch. Oh, the missiles don't quite deal as much damage as one might wish for them to deal. Sentinel missiles. Okay, I thought there was some weird name I was missing out on for them. Again, forgive me, I'm getting back into the swing of things. There is a drop now, though, in the main of life. This is chaotically nice. 3 medevacs just dropping out Marines. He's going to have to go for the drones ASAP. He's able to pick up 2 medevacs worth, so a decent amount of damage. Nothing significant. 7 workers killed in total, but a little bit of havoc wreaked. Enough to be able to draw some attention away from his gold base, wherein there are some Banelings ready to detonate these harvesters, and they will actually detonate for them. Maru almost got away from that unscathed. Unfortunately, he just did not quite pull them back far enough. Here's another drop just to deal with the Speedlings. A nice pickup for Maru. He's just going to boost out of there. So I would say we are on relatively even footing. There are 14 harvesters lost in the recent moments, though, from Maru. Life is down in supply, and Maru has dealt a good deal of damage to his opponent. But I don't feel like either player is necessarily dominating overall. There are 20 some odd Speedlings coming out, that first Muta coming out from life, and Maru is going to scout this in short time. A good little detonation there that I missed, actually a fairly good one. But these 2 Widow Mines here are going to deal with any major Baneling compositions that come at them. Preferably the Banelings, of course, because of that detonate effect. Here are 3 missile turrets preventatively coming out of Maru, just to prevent his harvester lines from being completely crippled by Muta attacks. And those Mutas are moving in there and being dealt with quite efficiently by the missile turrets. Excellent play out of Maru, but a few harvesters did die, still 43 in total. And I hope for Maru's sake that number does not prove to be his undoing. He really needs to be more prudent with his SCVs. He has played well in terms of micro, but life has just been completely demonic in how he has dealt with his opponents. Some nice detonations there on the Zerg forces and a few good pickups from Maru. Life will have to target down the right medevacs, and I do not quite think he will. So a good little trade-off there for Maru. He has been leading in supply. I just don't think he's been able to cripple his opponent economically. Yes, militarily he's winning the engagements. He's microing well. He's not taking massive Baneling hits to his Marine numbers. But he's not quite dishing out that kind of damage. A Zerg can deal with that repeated number of Zergling depletions and Baneling losses. A Terran does not deal that well with those kind of trades. Maru needs to find a way to break his opponent. Whether or not he's going to try to maybe bust out some siege tanks to deal with the Banelings. Here's another little engage here, losing a few Marines and getting a nice little detonation to weaken the Mutas to yellow health. But here we have it yet another, just a little bit of a trade-off. The Queen's supporting, and there is an Overseer there to deal with those Widow Mines, and they will be dealt with indeed. Good trade here from Life. That's going to bring him down to a relatively low supply, but his opponent as well. Maru has kept the lead in supply, but as I said, Life can replenish that. I'm not quite sure that Maru can quite as quickly. He has 11 Marines at a time. I will give him that. He has a good, solid production line, streaming Marines out to his opponent. But as I was saying before, Maru, whether he's going to get tanks or invest in some other form of tech, he needs to just pump out a massive units and try to either... That looks like the strategy he's going to follow, is just pump out a massive units that he knows works and try to ram them down his opponent's throat. He's not going to make a tech switch. He's just going to be calm and collected. He has that stream of Marines, and Life, unfortunately, does not quite have the military strength to be able to attack, to be able to get back at his opponent, be able to cripple that Terran production line that can become so devastating if left untouched. And there are still missile turrets, I'm not sure quite in the main, I know what that gold expansion, and Maru fundamentally has that gold expansion under him. Life isn't even really able to saturate the fourth. He has no workers there, and I think Maru is going to take this game here, guys, because he is just not being repelled. He's gotten a phenomenal supply chain of Marines, of medevacs, of Widow Mines, and even if there's that Overseer there, I don't think Life is going to be able to bridge that supply gap. Normally, a Zerg would be able to do it, as I said before, but in this case, he does not have the significant number of bases. He has barely half a base up on his opponent. The fourth is in mining. He has 3 bases. His opponent has... Actually, I would say Maru has more bases if we discount that fourth, because he has that 1.5 of the gold, and he has 2 bases. He has 3.5 to his opponent's 3 mining bases. And when that happens, I think the Terran deserves to take the game. Life here just continuing to trade with Maru, just some back and forth exchanges, banelings for Marines, but if you just keep looking at the mini-map here, there is just that Silk Road of Marines. I know Silk Road is probably not the best term, but you know what I mean. They are incredibly valuable to this fight, and they are coming in at just the right time, and there's this huge mass of well-spread Widow Mines that Life is simply incapable of dealing with. He does not have that the capability to push beyond the Marine lines that just keep reinforcing and reinforcing. Look at this stream of Marines from Maru. He knows he can close out the game. He hasn't even dealt significant economic damage to his opponent. He has lost 43 workers, but it was just the general strength of his army at all times in the game. He was able to drop when he had to, confuse his opponent when he had to, deal well with harass when he had to. I thought he was going to lose the game when Life was attacking his main there with the Ling Baneling composition, but in fact he ended up winning it. So he was able to come back from that and hang on, more importantly, to this gold. It was nigh on depleted by the end here, but that, I think, was the major turning point in the game, or the major reason that Maru was able to clinch the victory was because he had the gold base. And Life did not try for a gold base because he knew Maru would deny him it, and Life did not put enough pressure on Maru's gold. Anyhow, guys, I hope the cast was satisfactory, or perhaps even very satisfactory. Let me know in the comments what you thought. I'm always open to any sort of feedback, positive, negative, neutral, constructive, anything like that. I mean, constructive can be argued to be positive or negative. You know what I mean. Thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you sometime soon. This is Austin out.